Welcome to Table Talk, the place for deep conversations in the Geekverse. And trust me, when we tear into a subject, we go deep. I'm Heath, and I'll be your host. Each episode, I'll be talking with one or more creators, authors, illustrators, publishers, or other movers and shakers in games, TV, books, movies, or other areas of the Geekverse. Regular guests include Douglas A. Burton, the author of Faraway Bird, a multi-award-winning historical fiction novel of the Byzantine Empress Theodora. He's also the author of The Heroine's Labyrinth, an alternative story structure to the hero's journey that often occurs in stories with feminine heroes. That structural framework frequently comes up in our analysis of story. Brianna De Silva, she's the director and co-writer of The Cultists, a Lovecraftian comedy mockumentary-style web show here on YouTube, and the author of The City of Reckoning, an epic fantasy novel of political intrigue, the ethics of war, and young love. Cameron Pasha is a screenwriter, director, novelist, and was a writer and producer on the series Kings, a producer on NBC's Bionic Woman, and a co-producer and writer for Sleeper Cell. He's also written for the CW series Nikita and Roswell, New Mexico. He's been breaking news from inside Lucasfilm, Disney, and Hollywood. His analysis and commentary have become very popular on YouTube. We regularly meet to discuss and analyze stories, and when we do, we dive into graduate-level seminars on story structure and writing. Come on in and let's go deep. And when I say we're going deep, I mean you'd better bring your hard suit. Other guests have included Lou Anders, the author of the Thrones and Bones fantasy novels, Once Upon a Unicorn, the creator and publisher of the Norengard RPG, and the author of Star Wars, A Pirate's Price, the book that explains why the Millennium Falcon is on the planet Batu at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Mark Tassin, the creator of the World of Ataltis, head of Mechanical Muse, former director of the Gen Con Writers Symposium, and the head developer of the new Cool Name RPG. Let's see, who else?
Bond. James Bond.
Well, not James Bond. Not yet. Maybe soon, though. But I have interviewed Jamie Stegmaier, the founder of Stonemaier Games, crowdfunder extraordinaire, and publisher of many hit board games like Scythe and Wingspan. Brian Colin, sculptor of the World of Revelo Monster Busts, and the creator of the vast Grimm dark horror RPG. Ajit George, the Dungeons & Dragons author. We talked about game writing, education, and his contribution to Van Richter's Guide to Ravenloft and the development of the Journeys to the Radiant Citadel.
I am Hela, Odin's firstborn, the commander of the legions of Asgard, the rightful heir to the throne, and the goddess of death.
Well, actually, that interview got rather spicy, so I think I'd better just keep that one to myself. Kate Wilson, a YouTuber, actress, host, and prolific geek guru who's now working to make a new show dedicated to the world of tabletop gaming a reality. So buckle up and get ready for a wild ride, because it's time to explore the worlds of tabletop gaming, sci-fi, fantasy, and all of geekdom through the eyes of those who are making things happen.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger, ready to move out.
It's time for Table Talk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my home, welcome to my office, and welcome to Table Talk this evening. I'm Heath. I'll be your host, and tonight we're going to be talking with Brian Colin, who is the creator of, we're the owner and founder of Creature Curation. He's the creator of the Vast Grimm RPG. He is also done the World of Revelo, and he's on Kickstarter right now for a Morkborg compatible RPG called the Molt. Everyone, please welcome Brian. Welcome.
Hey Heath. Thanks for having me back, and it's good to see you, my friend.
Thank you very much for coming back. It is great to talk to you as well. I love your setup. Completely themed for Vast Grimm.
Yes. Two of my walls are what was it? I can't remember the name. It was Beauty Queen Pink was the name of the color in the paint swatches, and the other two are a gray color. But need to find places to put stuff so that they're not all stacked up when I make like sculpted pieces on wood board, just to get them out of the way.
Let's see who we got here with us tonight. I see James is in the chat. Good evening, James. Welcome, welcome. Robert is here. Welcome. Good evening, Robert. And Zero the Blade is here. Welcome. So good to see you. And Daniel, good evenings. We've got a lot of regulars here. Great to see everybody. So yes, I see that you and James have been talking. We're going to talk about these cassettes and things like that. Oh, hey, Jason. Good evening, Jason. Wonderful. All right. I want to point out a couple of things before we get started, to give you a couple of links coming in here about Table Talk. We're dual streaming here between the Heath's Geekverse channel and the Table Talk channel, for the new Table Talk channel, for now, until we get enough subscribers and so forth on the Table Talk channel. The permanent home for this live stream will be the Table Talk channel on Heath's Geekverse. I will turn this private later, so please do come over to the Table Talk channel. If you're still over on the Heath's Geekverse channel for Table Talk, please do, before we make the complete switch, come over here to the Table Talk channel and subscribe there. We're putting out clips all the time there from the shows, as well as Tuesdays. And this is our first Thursday actual live stream in quite a while, so this is great. Tuesdays and Thursday live streams, daily clips that are coming out every day during the week. So that's on Table Talk. And then also, I did just create a Table Talk Facebook page, so I can stream there as well. Might as well stream to both places. So in the interest of branding different, of getting better with branding, Table Talk Facebook right here. If you were interested, if for some reason you're still on Facebook. So there you go. It's there. You can give it a like, and then you can share out the events and things like that. All right. Brian, do you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you're doing? I've got your links up so I can show them as you bring them up. But let everybody know who you are and what you do.
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name's Brian Colin. I do a lot of different things within the tabletop RPG industry. I am the VP of RPG development at Infinite Black. I'm the founder and sole person at Creature Curation. I write RPGs. I sculpt weird things and put them into the layout. I do graphic design. I do product development. I make squishies and plush toys and enamel pins and embroidered patches. I do all sorts of weird things. You can find me at briancolin.com. It's spelled Colin, so it's BrianColin.com. And it's got that Linktree style layout that you can see there. I do all sorts of stuff. I've got lots of experience with manufacturing and dealing with partners overseas and fulfillment and all of the things that it takes to make things go. But I also started out as a graphic designer, so I've got years and years of experience working with clients and things like that I now dump into the things that I'm much more passionate about.
Yeah. So Brian was just telling me he put together, this is basically a link tree on his main website, which is what I need to do too, because there is so much that Brian has made over the years and so many projects he's been involved in. There's cartography. This is like a great place to get to everything.
Yeah. And since it's fairly diverse, I mean, because in 2017, I started out in like the artist alley at Gen Con, and I was mainly selling weird monster taxidermy things, and realized I had to make smaller items that people could take away and pay for versus a one-of-a-kind sculpture. So that's when I started branching out to more like product development with like pins and patches and things like that. So trying to keep it all contained under one roof, it's sometimes hard to show the sculptures and then show the product stuff as well.
All right. So I guess we should talk about the most important thing at the beginning right now is that you are on Kickstarter right now.
Yes.
Right here. So I guess we'll just start with that, because that's the time sensitive, right? That's the urgency right here. Oh, yeah. James says, I have those beholder squishes.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for supporting it. I really appreciate it. Yeah. So the Molt, if you're familiar with Morkborg, that's great. If not, it doesn't really matter. This is a self-contained RPG called the Molt. The idea that inside the center of the planet are these weird creatures that have these prophecies that they're going to shed the outer layer of the Earth or the planet's surface and take over, and all of humanity on the outside is going to just fall away and die. So they're you play these weird creature species, trying to gain these trophies and help make these prophecies come true, to try and help the end of the outer world kind of dissipate and find its way to its demise.
So this is this is not in Revelo, but is Revelo inspired.
Yes.
Is that the way it goes? Okay.
So with that, I wanted to, because I was already starting to do new sculptures for Vast Grimm and do things like that, I wanted to bring in some of my older sculptures into this setting. So if you play Morkborg, the outer world is the Morkborg world, but I made it where I'm tying some of the lore together. So like some of the species from my Revelo setting were magically created by some things in the Morkborg setting, whereas others came through rifts deep in the crevices of the planet, coming from the actual Revelo world into here. So I'm weaving all of the different things that I've created together, and there's also Easter eggs for Vast Grimm within this setting as well. There's little callbacks to like Fatuma, who's one of the people that's mentioned in the prophecies in the Vast Grimm setting. And the first adventure is actually, if you look close enough, you can tell that it is a derelict spaceship that has been sunken into the center of the planet that's mostly kind of destroyed and overridden and has things grown all over it.
Okay, I see a few things to ask about as I'm scrolling down here. I'll scroll back up. First of all, you're even doing a collector's edition of this core rulebook?
Yes. I mean, well, I like having multiple versions of things, and because the main species in this is a Bernadazi, which is like a lizard man type creature. I would like the idea of doing that reptilian faux skin as the cover and having that big fat foil stamp on top of it as well.
So that's fantastic. It's a lot more work to put out two versions of the book.
Well, I mean, as far as production goes, it's not that much different because you're using the same core center. So
it's got the same page.
The production cost a bit, but at least they're printing the center all the same, and then they're just swapping out some of the covers.
Okay. So James says, of course, I'm going to back the Molt too. I want the cassette tape. So that was the next thing I saw going down here. So James was talking about this. What is going on with the cassette tapes?
So my friend who goes by the name Glitter in the Dark, he has created space synth music for Vast Grimm, where it's a cassette. Like if you see what I'm holding here, it's an actual cassette.
Wait, let me solo you so you can put that
Sure.
up. Okay, that way people can see it. Yeah.
So it's an actual cassette. It could be played in a boombox or a tape or a Walkman, but the inside liner notes is what is one of the things that really makes it special. Is that when you unroll all 8 panels, it makes one side's a map, and then the other side is the adventure. So we're doing something very similar for the Molt, where he's created the soundtrack already. He's actually created 2, but we only have 1 on the Kickstarter right now, where it's going to have an adventure on one side and a map on the other, and it's got music that you can listen to. And of course, we have digital files for the people that don't have an old boombox or like a van from 1990 that can play it in. But I'm a very tactile person. I like having the things in my collection, and I like being able to play the actual physical things. So
it's not. So it's a soundtrack. What's on the cassette is a soundtrack.
Yes, exactly. And you can go in on the page and listen to samples of some of the tracks that Glitter in the Dark has made for this specific album.
Wow. Okay. Well, people like that. Hey, Trey. Trey says, "Yay, I made it to this one. Love the idea of the Molt."
Thank you so much, Trey.
James says, "Into the outer world" is a fantastic phrase.
Yes, James. Yes, you can. You can add that the collector's edition, or you can add the regular cover if you back at the collector's edition.
Let's see. Daniel says he likes it, and yeah, James is a toy collector. He's one of our toy people here, so the physical things. Stray, hey Stray, good evening, Stray. Stray says this is so cool.
Thank you.
So the inspiration here was I know you love Morkborg. Well,
yes.
Talk about that. Why you're huge into Morkborg because that's what Vast Grimm is. Why is it so awesome?
Why is it so awesome? Because when I first played it, something broke in my brain. Right, I played it. It was so much fun because it seems so over the top, and there's so much humor injected into it. But the book itself is designed in such a way that every single page spread in it feels like a band poster. It's a work of art, and being able to shift how RPG books are presented really changed something in my brain. So that's part of why I love it so much, because it allows me to design in such a way that it's fun to do. Every page spread is exciting to actually work on and do the layout of. And it's also how it's written is also very concise. And because when I write, I've never been personally about the amount of words that go in. It's more about the punch of what's given. So I'd rather write shorter, briefer things and leave so much more adaptability to the people that are playing the game, and just give them the hooks and the seeds so that this can turn into whatever it should be at their table.
I'm posting the link to the Molt KS in here. So once again, so if you didn't get it, there you go. So it's right there.
Nice, thank you.
James says Rules Light's really taking over the tabletop RPG space.
Yes, and especially the older I get, the less room I have for rules in my brain.
Oh, and James says he listened to the audio, so very ambient in a crunchy sort of way.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Glitter in the Dark's really done some great stuff. It's good to have, fun to have in the background while you're playing, or even while I'm sculpting or doing layout as well.
Well, I've been trying to come up with Brian and I used to play Fate in online games.
Yep.
And we played in the world of Revelo, and we've talked about that a lot on the Morning Grind. Fate, but also I still want to do something else with it. I want to push it a little bit further. So that's still coming, but I haven't gotten I got a bunch of projects on the as well, and so the rule design is one that's gone down. James asks, have you ever read Penny Arcade? That thumbnail for the Kickstarter could be a deep crow.
I have not. I've meant to a lot, and then so much time just goes by, and they have so much backlog that I always find series like that intimidating once I get past a certain point.
Trey says, and Mork Borg's engine is a great rules light system. Vast Grimm, Pirate Borg. Have you seen Pirate Borg?
Have I? Of course. So Luke, the creator of it, ran a Orc Borg game for us while we were just up at GameholeCon.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Luke and I say I've been on. I've hosted a number of panels at Gen Con and some other shows where it's all like third-party Mork Borg creators, and we talk a lot about being the first people to do full Mork Borg hacks, where it's not just like a zine or something like that, where we just reskinned and retooled it and put out a complete system based on the Mork Borg stuff.
We went over Mork Borg on the Morning Grind and we loved it.
And I've run Pirate Borg for the weekly kids group that I've run as well, and they loved it too.
Let me tell you what I'm working on, everybody, in case you were here, just real quick to give everybody a look at it and the link as well. My next campaign is going to be The Trial of St. Gabriel. This is a dark short story, a dark Christmas story about the Bethlehem massacre. And so this is one of my first ideas when I had the idea about warrior angels. And so this is the Christmas story as told from the perspective of the angels. And so that short story is going to be coming out on Kickstarter. So if you are interested, I was actually thinking, man, could I put an appendix in here with like some RPG material? I was thinking about that as I was doing some layout, because I had a few extra pages and I was like, maybe I could do something for the RPG in the appendix. But that is what I'm going to probably start this in maybe a week and a half or something like that. So I'll keep you informed here and on the Morning Grind. But I'm putting the link in the chat right now. If you're interested, do hit the notify me on launch. So there we go. Let's see. So there we go. Let me break that down. Trey asks, is there somewhere Mork Borg third-party creators list their games? I would love to read more. Oh, thank you, Stray. Stray posted the link as well. Thank you.
Yeah, in the Talk Mork Borg Facebook group, I know that question is asked fairly regularly, so you can probably find a thread there with it, with all the different games. There's also, I bet there's probably one on the Mork Borg Discord server as well. And then there's spin-off ones they're like Morkborg adjacent, like Frontier Scum, which was started out as a Morkborg hack, and then they changed the rules a bit more, and that's more of a Western. And some people talk about Death in Space being one, but that's really, it's similar, but it's not a full-on Morkborg hack. That's its own system. And then there have been a number of others that, and then so many supplements. You can also go to exlibris.com/Morkborg, and you can search for stuff there, I believe.
Yeah, Trey reads every RPG. He's on the Discord server. He's read every.
Awesome.
And the other RPG section, he reads them all the time. All right, so it has been a little bit over a year. It's probably been about 14 months since we've talked, even though actually our original conversation re-aired like last Sunday, okay, as it happens. So we re-aired that conversation, moving it over here to the new Table Talk channel.
Sure.
But what has been going on like over the last year? Because the original Vast Grimm had not fulfilled. I didn't have my Vast Grimm book.
Oh wow!
Last we talked, so
okay.
it was getting fulfilled, but that's where it was.
Well, so
what has been happening
since then? We've had a Kickstarter for 3 new books. Space Cruisers.
Here, let me solo you. Keep those up. I'll solo you.
Space Cruisers, which is all about starship creation and starship combat rules. Has very similar build for a starship that you would for character creation. Space Raiders, which is essentially space pirates, additional classes, along with a hex crawl adventure in the back of the book. And then Blood Altered, 4 interconnected adventures set on K2116b, the planet where the parasites first came out and began infecting people. And then there were character sheet tear pads, starship sheet tear pads, a whole bunch of patches. We have a big patch program that was part of that. And that is about to start fulfillment any day now. So like my plan is to have those out to backers and be able to have these at PAX Unplugged coming up at the beginning of December. So that's been like the big thing. Like those 3 books I wrote, did the art for, and laid out. Like I did pretty much everything except for the editing on those all the way through. So that was a big endeavor.
James asks, "Oh man, I missed those. So I'm late to this party. Will those hit the website soon?"
Sometime late November. Absolutely,
okay,
James.
So,
once we get them out to Kickstarter backers, we'll have them out then.
All right. So what else?
We've
done more Vast Grimm.
Yeah. So pushing more on that because I want more people playing that. Doing a handful of conventions this past year. We had like the Glass Cannon network ran Vast Grimm live on the Gen Con floor this year, which was pretty darn exciting. As far as creature curation goes, I kind of slowed down a little bit. I tried doing a plush launch for some of the stuffed animals that I make, and some new ones I tried on Kickstarter and it wasn't going the way I wanted. So then I tried on BackKit and it just didn't work out because sometimes things don't go the way you want them to, and that's okay.
I don't think you had the truck. Like we should can you bring up a picture of your truck?
So long. Well, I can, but it's a sad story.
Oh no. Well, let people know what we're talking about. I don't want it to be.
How do I share that on here?
If you go down to present and then like share screen, if you bring up a picture on your screen.
Okay, let me find it on my desktop real quick first, but we can keep talking.
I can start living the life because Brian does a lot of conventions. Brian lives the convention life.
Yeah.
And he did what everyone would love to do in order to travel to conventions.
Yes. and honestly, so the van is what inspired the cassette. So I bought a crappy 1996 van and it had a cassette deck in it. And when I saw that, that's when I knew like, okay, I need to make cassettes of this, to cassette adventures for this van. Right. Let's see. Let me open this up and I'll show at least one of the shots. Let's see. Present. Share screen.
In the middle section, you go to a specific window, so you can just share the window got that picture in it.
Okay, here we go. Window. Yep. I just need to get to it. Okay. So is that sharing now? There we go.
It is now. Look at that.
So like I had the sides wrapped, even the top was wrapped with my Astro Zombie sculpture. So like if you were flying in a helicopter overhead, or if you were at a hotel at like Dragon Con or something like that, and looking down stories upon stories, you would see it there. But I designed it. I wrapped the van. I drove it up to Philadelphia for PAX Unplugged last year. It was awesome. It was parked in one of the parking lots where all the people on foot traffic could see it. I had people in the industry like commenting later on that they had seen it out there. It was fantastic. But driving back to Georgia from Philadelphia, right outside of Richmond, it broke down. The transmission went. So then I had to get a rental car. I got it to a place to try and fix it. I got a rental car, came home. A couple weeks later, it was repaired. I go back up there, drive like 2.5 hours later, and it happens again. The exact same thing where the transmission cracks. And I had it at this other shop for like 2 months while they were trying to source parts and trying to replace things because it's old and it's hard to find pieces. And they finally realized that something further back in the van had been damaged. So if they were going to try and fix it and keep, because basically every time they'd replace it, it would shift and it would cause the same problem to happen. They would have to replace it piece by piece, trying to figure out what happened, and they just scrapped it. So that van had to die.
Oh no! So you don't have it anymore.
So no. So that van is no more. But now I have a big, like 2-year-old Ram ProMaster, where I can actually walk inside of, and it's massive. I haven't wrapped it yet. Like I just drove to Wisconsin. I'm driving to Philadelphia. I want to drive it like a good year, maybe make sure there's no major problems. Because especially on this, where it's a bigger vehicle, the wraps are not cheap. I'm going to wrap that. I also plan to build out the inside where I build a bench seating with a table that can drop up and down, that at conventions we can game inside, where I do LED lighting inside and make it look like you're inside a spaceship. So one day that can be the actual, like, that's the big pipe dream, right? It's going to take a while to get to there, but that's where, okay, you come in, you get to sit down with me and play a game of Vast Grimm inside the freaking Vast Grimm van.
Wow. So it's coming back. And it's going to come back better than ever.
Right. Yeah, totally. It just may take a little while.
Let's see. So you go to Gen Con, you go to Origins. You said you're going to PAX Unplugged.
Yep.
Soon.
And I just came back from from my first Gamehole Con ever, which was fun. And I do Gamma as well.
And Gamma. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you keep up the creative side of this and making stuff while going to this many conventions?
I get up early every day. Like, I think like my thing has always been, and you know this, Heath, that I get up at like 5:30 every morning, and I get up and I start working. And whether my brain's ready to work or not, I start and I get into that creative process and get things going. Usually at that point, I'm working on personal projects before, like, especially, now that I've been with Infinite Black now for almost 3 years. So usually at 9 a.m. my time, I start work. So I work on my own side projects up until that time.
James says, do you do Dragon Con? You've been to Dragon Con. I know, because I've been to Dragon Con with you.
I used to do Dragon Con, but it stopped. I went through a kind of a change in what I was doing, and there were a couple of years where it was not profitable at all. And after doing so many other shows around the same time, losing 5-ish days when I could be with my family, and I'm not really making money on it. It was better for me to just stay home.
Yeah, everybody's shedding tears for the van.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the new one.
Thank you. But yeah, I like Dragon Con, but then also, like, I'm cool when I'm behind the table, but it's so big and there's so many people now. I started getting too claustrophobic going from like one hotel to the other through the tunnels and things like that. I just, that's such a party con. I'd rather go to slightly smaller, more RPG focused shows.
John says, come to California and game at Kubla Khan.
Hey, John, it's good to see you. I know one of these days you'll get me out there.
All right. So, was there any other, projects that have been going over the past year? What else has been going on?
Let's see. Oh, I think I may have released Trolls and Bridges during that time, or over the Troll Bridge.
That was on Kickstarter the last time we talked.
Oh, was it? Okay. Excellent.
Yeah, that's what was going on the last time we spoke. So, yeah, in the interim, we also got Trolls Under the Bridges.
Yeah.
Or Trolls Over the Bridge, or whichever one it was.
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You had mentioned that you were going to focus in on Vast Grimm.
Yes.
So is that where you're going also in the future over here the next 12 months, and or what's the future?
Yeah, I mean, the goal is to try and I want to primarily focus on Vast Grimm for the next 4-ish plus years, right? From what I can see, the RPGs that stand the test of time are the ones that keep putting out content. So I want to keep putting out, I have the next big book for Vast Grimm is going to be Vast Grimmer. Because,
okay.
it's just my friend Ross, who co-created Vast Grimm with me, came up with that name, and it's funny. And we're going to explore other star systems, going to introduce alien species, things like that. And we're going to add another stat because I think the game really needs it. It needs a tech stat so that presence isn't used so much. But while I'm doing that, every now and again I get that fantasy itch, which is why I'm doing the Molt now. So plus, I like to keep busy. I don't like to have any time to rest. So I keep myself going with that. And some of this stuff will be released through my Patreon, which is currently now on the Explorers Legion on vastgrim.com. But soon I'm going to be launching it where every month I do 2 variations where it's got the Vast Grimm content, but then also a version that's a Morkborg style or Molt style content as well.
James says, please like the stream. Yes, thank you for reminding me. Please do like the stream, everybody. Please subscribe if you're here. Please do like it please do like the stream because it's not just about, how many likes can we get here, but there are people who are subscribed who don't know we're doing this, but the YouTube algorithm, in order to put that out to them, has to know that everybody likes this stream. So if you hit this stream, you're helping to push this out to other people who might like to be here with us as we're doing this conversation, but just don't know about it because they're not part of the YouTube algorithm. The YouTube algorithm isn't pushing it to them. So please do hit like, and that way it can go out to more people who might want to be here. Okay, so another major Vast Grimm release is on the way.
Yes, and I've got another book. I've got another smaller, 48-page book like these, pretty much ready to go. That just needs to be edited. That's called No Safe Haven, which is set on one of the areas called the Marauders Cryosphere. And it's got some additional classes. It's got some locations. It's got some story hooks and things like that in it. That's pretty much ready to go. We've only released cassette number 1 and 2. And we're planning on doing 3 through 6 because each cassette is focused on one of the different types of worms you can get infected by. Number 3 is the music is done, the writing's done. I just need to finish the layout. So all of those should be coming in the next year as well.
Well, I was going to ask you, going back to Patreon, I have been seeing on the business side of things, I've been seeing a lot of emails coming to me from Patreon saying how they're changing things up. And I have not gotten to actually dive into it in any detail. I've just seen their emails coming by that say, hey, we got new features. We're changing the way we're doing things. And some people in the chat on the Morning Grind and stuff have been talking about, well, Patreon's really making a push to do something. They knew more about that. So what is, you're going back to Patreon. Does this have to do with its new format, or what is it doing from the business side of things?
Sure. And hey, John, who's in the chat right now, I'm planning on letting everybody in the Explorers Legion know this, and it'll be a smooth transition, and people can stay in the Explorers Legion if they want, and they'll still get the same stuff. But so the main reason for the idea to go back to Patreon is one, you mentioned earlier about Pirate Borg, Limithron, or Luke, who's the creator of that. He was pushing me hard to go back to that because he's seen really good results with that, with also getting new people in. James, the Explorers Legion is on vastgrim.com. It's kind of like Patreon, but I just moved it all directly onto the Vast Grimm website. Every month I release well, almost every month. I've had a hiccup this past 2 months, but 4 new things, either NPCs, monsters, new classes, things like that, as well as at higher tiers, also a map/location and VTT assets. But the reason that one of the main reasons about going back to Patreon is they now have a free tier where people can follow and get some of the updates without necessarily subscribing and paying for the content. But that in a time when email newsletters are not having as high a return, like Facebook advertising, things like that, it's harder and harder to reach the people that want to see your stuff. It's just another avenue for people to follow you. So being able to do that, and each month maybe giving out one piece of the content that's free, then having the rest of it at the different stage tiers is one thing. It also has a different sort of organic reach than just like on the Vast Grimm website does, because especially as since I'm going to be doing 2 styles, I'm going to be doing the Vast Grimm content, then I'll be doing parallel content that's Morkborg related. I may be able to attract other people into the club as well. So that's kind of the reason to go that way. And also, I was talking with Limithron at Gamehole about that, and then I also was picking DM Dave's brain about it as well, because he has a really strong Patreon following. I got to play in some games with those guys while there, so I thought that is the right way to go to try and build a bigger audience and get more eyes on what I'm making.
Well, it's getting outside of an algorithm. So if it's non-algorithmic, like follow, if you're interested in following, you can follow free. And if it's non-algorithmic, you'll know that you'll see it,
right,
which is a big thing in today's world.
Yep.
So you're also doing something with cartography?
Yes. So this keeps getting pushed back based on the things I have going on. But I've spoken with Drew from Norse Foundry. It's something that he and I co-created years ago, which is basically dungeon crawls in a deck. But we are going to be doing an open license version where you can use the digital versions in adventures as long as you don't print maps or cards with them, and you can make things with those. Just whenever I can get off my rear end to get the assets together and put together the pack so that there's actually something tangible for people to use. So hopefully first quarter of 2024. So it'll be compatible with cartography or cartography compatible, something like that.
I just remembered I wanted to talk to you about this because I saw this. It might have been on this Kickstarter page as well. We had examined on the Morning Grind Alchemy RPG.
Yes.
And you were one of the people who was one of the first creators inside the Alchemy platform. We looked at that when we were looking at Alchemy. Like, oh, look, there's Brian.
Awesome. Yeah. Totally.
So what is your experience with Alchemy?
So I haven't
this is a virtual tabletop. It's a new type of virtual tabletop, in case you don't know what it is.
So it's a cinematic virtual tabletop. I haven't gotten to actually get in and play in Alchemy, but everything that I've seen is gorgeous. The team that's behind it were developers and people that were at Netflix. So the overall interface and how consumers or how players get to go to the site and things like that, it's got a very great user interface. The Vast Grimm stuff is currently still in development. There's going to be the Molt version as well. But it's an intuitive, immersive style of VTT. Right now, they don't have a ton of tools for like fog of war and things like that. It's more about having some audio backgrounds and transitions and getting people in the feel of the game while you're playing. But also when we gave them the Vast Grimm core rulebook to put in, it's not like if you buy it there, it's not a PDF that you buy. It's all been redesigned to flow well and look great within their platform. It's a really, really fantastic experience because I personally am not a huge fan of PDFs. I want the physical book. But if I'm going to have it in a digital form, I really like what they're doing there. Also, the folks that are behind it have been super great to work with. They've been very, very nice and helpful. And I see this going a long way in the future.
That was one of the ones that was most interesting to me to potentially develop for, because we looked at a bunch of them. And one of the things that you can do is you can get so down deep into the weeds. Some of the things, oh, by the way, oh, hey, Phaser Wrist, welcome. Good to see you. welcome. But, some of the different, oh, hey, Sable, and Sable's here too. Good evening, Sable Phoenix. Welcome. You can get so deep into trying to get the computer to do everything
right
with some of the VTTs that it just is a mammoth amount of work to install, like to install something like, some map or some adventure or whatever. Just the amount of check this box, this, do you want this? Do you want that? It takes forever. It takes longer than if you just played it at your table at your house.
Yep.
And I don't want that.
No,
so
I
this
certainly
seems
don't
like
either.
a potential way to make that easier.
Yeah, I don't want the technology curve when trying to run a game, especially a game where oftentimes when I'm running a game, I'm making it up as I go. I don't want to also have to fight with the technology as well. One thing that I forgot to mention that they're working their way into that I really like is they have a way for you to make, if you're running a game, say we were playing right now, I could toggle a switch to allow other people to come and watch what we're playing. And they're also going to make it where it can then connect to streaming networks as well. So for me as a creator of something, and I imagine this would appeal to you as well, Heath, if you create a game and you're running it for people and you click the toggle button to allow other people that are on Alchemy to watch the gameplay so they can experience it while you're playing in real time without actually having to do any streaming or things like that, and they can just watch, I think that's a great way for people just browsing within their website to be able to discover new games.
Yes. I saw that, that you were able to stream out for it. And I think that would be a great thing to do for dinner and a board game and things like that, and have that cinematic level. Because you're right. If you're making something up and you're playing at the table, well, a piece of paper and a pen, and in a few seconds there, you've outlined a new area or whatever you've got to know. It's got to be that easy. It's got to be that easy for a virtual tabletop for a lot of people to want to play with it. I mean, other people want, because you can go infinitely deep with, hey, what type of elements of this RPG should we have the computer take care of? And I understand there's a very strong argument for that. They're like, hey, we got all these rules. The computer should be able to take care of all these rules. But then you lock it down to a very specific rule set.
Right.
It becomes not flexible to be able to play something else. You spend all of this time just putting in the 5e rules or something, and it can't play something else. And then if you try to do something that is outside of what was a new room or something going a different direction, you can't even do that on the fly. And that's a problem to me.
Right.
We talked about rules light stuff. So also the lightweight kind of tabletop RPG, virtual tabletop is a win to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one that I love as well is the roll.app as well. That's a great platform too.
Roll.app?
I'm pretty sure it's or Playroll. I'm sorry, it's Playroll. Just look up Playroll. Playroll.com. They've been great to partner with as well.
You know everybody in the space.
You've seen me at conventions. I'm always smiling. I'm always happy. I love talking to people. It's easy to make friends at shows.
I have never heard of this one. Does anybody in the chat know this one? Is anybody? So you're also building out for this one?
Yep. And actually,
look, Grimm right there.
Yep.
So what is the best thing about this one? What is this one doing?
This one, the best thing about this is it is more of a personal interaction space. It has, from what I've seen, it has had the best video connection, audio connection. So it feels more like you're actually sitting around playing with friends versus small little windows moved around.
Well, we might have to check this one out. In fact, I'm going to make a note of this. I'm going to make a note that we got to get back to some RPG stuff on the morning grind eventually. So look at playroll.com.
Yep.
For morning grind. Okay, thank you.
Sure.
We'll check that out. Let's see. Trey says at a certain point, if the computer AI takes over too much of the roles, NPCs, etc., on PTTs, it feels less like a tabletop RPG and more like a video game.
Totally. And like for me, when I'm playing a game like this, I still roll physical dice. I still have people at home, even though I can't see the dice rolls. I don't care. Roll them. If you feel like you really need to fudge the rolls in a game, that's okay.
Okay, no, you're back. Okay. Last time we had spoken, one of the things we had spoken about was the emergence of AI art. I mean, AI art was just kind of something that was publicly available, and we were just kind of playing around with last time we spoke. And we talked about what we were able to do with it and what was lacking, because of course it was lacking a lot of things. This was like in August of last year. And we talked about things that we thought were going to happen over the next year or more, and man, a lot of them have happened. So you're a sculptor, artist. I see some of the sculptures and stuff from that up behind you, which is fantastic. We talked about in that last conversation how you were combining physical sculpture with digital art to produce things like the vast Grimm book. Mm-hmm. But how have you been integrating AI into your workflows, or how is that influencing?
I have in a certain way. I'm trying to see if there's the one piece over here. Like there's one where I pulled some, almost like pulling reference photos from AI, and then I printed stuff out, and then I redrew stuff, and then I sculpted and painted using that as the foundation. So I think for me personally, if I use it more like I would as photo reference, that's a good way to go. Because for me, it still has to, all the things that I make still has to have a certain feel and aesthetic that you can't at this point put into search terms or keyword terms to make it pop out the way you want it to. And I think it has good uses for allowing certain people that wouldn't be able to afford art anyway to be able to get some of their ideas across. But I think there's certain things, like I've seen certain litigation right now where there's a group of artists that are currently in court with Midjourney about scraping existing artists and things like that. But then I also saw another person that has just gotten the copyright approval for a card game that they developed, showing their process using generative AI art at first for the foundation, but then doing paint overs on top of it. And so the way, after going through iterations with the copyright office, their paint overs were copywritten, but the generative AI underneath of it was not.
Well, that's what I hear a lot. People always, when I bring this up, will write in the comments, "Oh, well, it's not copyrightable." Well, for now, right? Whatever. But, on the other hand, that doesn't really bother me, because like when I was putting together a video, for this, like, okay, well, now if I get what I want out of an image from some kind of diffusion model, and you get that image here, maybe that raw image isn't copyrightable, but by the time everything else happens to it and it ends up in the video, well, that video is mine.
Sure.
So even that, I don't know if that will be a huge issue. We'll see how it goes. I did drop my camera rate down. I thought it was Brian who was glitching, so I did drop my camera transfer rate down a bit. We'll see if that helps.
Yeah.
But it may not be that big of an issue. And some of the times I love not having copyright stuff. Like on YouTube, I feel like we're a bit behind on music generation.
Right.
But YouTube loves to strike music.
Sure. Yeah.
And if I need some type of background music or something, even if I go out and deliberately try to find something that is YouTube friendly, I've even screwed that up before. Spent a fair amount of time looking for something that is YouTube friendly, and then finding out that it's not, or YouTube has misidentified it, or I didn't look at something even within YouTube that, oh yeah, you can use it for YouTube, but you won't be able to monetize it. No, I'm trying to, if I use it for YouTube, then YouTube friendly to me is being able to monetize it.
Right.
Whereas, even YouTube's putting out, oh yeah, it's perfectly fine to use on YouTube. No, you can totally, it's just that all of the money for that video or advertising revenue now goes to the person who made that track. Oh, well, now I'm not trying to do that. So if I can generate some music that has no copyright to it and use in the background of my video, that kind of thing sounds like a win.
Sure.
I want to have a deeper conversation about the influence of AI art, because I've got a bunch of different friends who come down on a bunch of different sides on this. Yep. We have generally been more pro AI on this channel, generally speaking. And I wanted to get into it to figure out exactly what it can do. We went through a deep dive also into script writing to see what, and that didn't work as well. What can it actually do right now? That doesn't mean it's not going to be able to do more in the future. But eventually, I want to host a conversation about AI tech and creativity here on Table Talk, because I know I've got people who are a great wide variety of opinions on it. But I want to make sure I, first of all, know the tech, and then also study all of what's going on with the copyright lawsuits and stuff like that.
I would definitely need to explore it more before being able to give a good informed decision versus what we talked about like a year ago, because my experience has not gone much past that point.
Well, I kept monitoring it because, and I tried sticking my toe in it a few different times, but it's not like, if you want to create a video, it's not what people right now are afraid of, that like Bob Iger at Disney is just going to type in a sentence, I need the next blockbuster Marvel film, enter, and then 10 minutes later there's a 2-hour-long perfect Marvel film. Like, okay, that's not happening right now. And there was a lot of ways that for every step you were kind of fighting with it. I was watching people saying, watching people who really knew what they were doing and deep in the weeds, and they were able to create some amazing stuff. And of course they're putting it out on YouTube, but I'm like, okay, so that's what's coming. So they really know video technology, and they're able to even program new tools. Okay, but that's not everybody. That's not just general use. But they're showing you what's coming. Like, okay, so that will be in a few months, which is crazy, in more commercial tools. So if you're trying to get a workflow, if you're a more normal human being like me, to be able to do something.
It might be worthwhile to have somebody that went to the recent Adobe Max conference, because I know a lot of that was about how to integrate AI capabilities into workflow.
Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, so that's an interesting. So the AI Max. Okay, let me make note of that. But
so it was the Adobe conference that was, I think, like just maybe a month ago.
Okay, that's an excellent idea. That's an excellent idea. Might be able to talk to somebody about that. That's an excellent idea. But one of the things that I said, oh yes, and once again, thank you, Sable. Please do like the stream if you're coming in. Please do. That one of the things that I said is that early on, like, it was, here's traditional tools. And by traditional, isn't that crazy? I'm talking about Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, all of your computer graphic suites. Those are your traditional art tools. And then over here are like the stuff you're having to download as open source software that are your AI generators and things like that. And for a while, there was this division. But then I was like, no, wait a minute. This stuff is going to become integrated into your everyday workflow anyway. So with, Adobe Photoshop, I was working with its generative fill. I mean, I use an object extractor, one of the things where you just, what's the object in this image, to be able to cut it out, from its background, which is, algorithmically done like every day. And so when we were having people, well, like WotC or Paizo or other people who want to take a really hard line that you cannot use AI tech in this, I was like, well, it very soon, I mean, this is going to become, this is in Photoshop.
Right.
Like, are you going to be tracking people like, now, you guys send us a screen capture because we want to make sure you don't hit the naughty button. Don't hit that button over there. Like,
right.
If you can do an AI generative fill on your background when you're trying to animate something, do you really want to make sure that person actually spends a couple of hours drawing that, or do you just want the background done and take care of it? I mean, and likewise with the selection, oh wait, don't automate the selection of that. Make sure you're doing the click, 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 click. No, just nobody's going to do that. Everybody's like, oh, I got this new tool. I can just select this thing. So the blurring of that boundary, I think, is really interesting. Like people are trying to say, when you did Kickstarter,
Yep.
did you have to do the AI?
Yes, you just click the button and you say what's in there, what isn't, and just leave it at that.
Well, yeah, but it says be as specific as possible.
Right.
Like, how specific do you need to get? I mean, that doesn't help me.
I just clicked the button and kept going.
So you said no because it was
Right,
not involved in yours. But on my hand, since I had used the different AI generators and things like that, I clicked on it, and then natural language processing. I mean, a lot of these different generators are using natural language processing. Well, is that an AI tech? Do I need to disclose that? Do I need to disclose if I use the fill in Photoshop? Do I need to disclose if I use an automated image selection?
Right.
It doesn't seem well thought out to me.
Right. Well, and it's new frontier. So like as people like Kickstarter trying to put that in place to appease the community who is concerned about it, they're going to have to revise that and update it as the technology evolves. And I mean, it evolves at such a rapid pace now compared to what it did 20 years ago. I'm sure they're going to have to keep updating that to try and keep up.
Well, I hope they do. Because I can also see a world where it's not updated, or somebody's like, what, you're going to get rid of the AI declaration? And so basically every project has to have this long thing attached to it.
Right.
That everybody uses. Like I said, if you're just using Photoshop in another 6 months, then you're using the AI algorithms.
But people won't see it as that, because people will just be like, I'm just using Photoshop.
Right. They won't see it as that. And but yet you still may have to. Now, did you write all of that out in your declaration? It's like, I'm just using Photoshop. Like, do I even need to write that? What does that mean? It's not clear.
Sure.
All right. Well, what else is going on? That's an ongoing conversation that I'm very interested in. I think we're going to end up with a blossoming of human creativity, because it's going to allow so many more people to be able to produce the things that they want to produce that they've never been able to before.
And I think it's going to push the people that are already creating things either by hand or digitally. I think it's going to push them to create more experimental things, and we're going to probably see a renaissance in new ideas that wouldn't have been forced otherwise.
Well, yeah, I think there's, like, somebody was telling me, I'm afraid that because of this, no one's ever going to learn to draw. Well, are you afraid that, in today's world, nobody's going to learn how to do blacksmithing? Well, I'm not. There are still blacksmiths in today's world. You can go and see them. It's not like people stopped blacksmithing. Yeah, I don't really go to a blacksmith every day, but if I want to learn blacksmithing, there's YouTube blacksmiths. There are people down at Tannehill. There's still blacksmiths, even though that's not really a practical thing, that we need every day today.
Right.
There's still blacksmiths. But also, now this is, I guess, still on that point, but I've seen artists who are then using the tech to be able to do more stuff in their style and get more stuff done.
Well, I've also seen people like having it use their own, like, not using Midjourney, but using their own Stable Diffusion to generate stuff based on their own works, which I think is where things will really get to expand from one individual creator's perspective.
Well, yeah, because we've run into the situation, and I especially have, where I've written whole books, like RPG books. But one of the things, and other people in the comments have talked about this as well, one of the major hangups to being able to publish an RPG book is doing all the art. The art takes forever. And we were trying to do, like, even if we're doing like the audio books for YouTube, that the ability to create the art has been just traditionally the hang up. And so there may be artists that are like, okay, I got to create 50 of these images in order to illustrate this book. Not practical. Like, if I got to spend 6 months to make, all of these, and I'm trying to get this book out in a reasonable time, okay, this is actually not something that's practical. But if you used AI technology, all of a sudden it might be practical for you to say, listen, this is, because then you become like the art director. Here are the pieces. This is establishing the style like you were talking about. And then I can use that and I can generate the whole book from that. And I still think that's yours. Like, I still think I would be looking at what the author, what the artist was trying to bring out, I think.
Sure. But I also think, that's going to force traditional artists to be more creative, and their books are then going to stand out so much more from the AI generated stuff, only because at a certain point, a lot of the AI stuff looks very similar. It may not to everybody, but to certain eyes, it does. So I think there will be more interesting, creative ways to do traditional style art and work those into books.
Yeah, I think you're right. So I don't think that's going away. Right. So, somebody will be like, this one was done completely by hand. This one was completely hand sculpted or whatever it is. Right. I mean, I remember when people actually asked people, did you actually paint this or did you use Photoshop?
Right. Yep.
I mean, that used to be a thing.
Yeah, it did. And a lot of artists didn't think that digital artists were real artists. And even though, they're still painting, it's just a different medium.
Trey G says the AI art thing only bothers me because the artist never had to say if their art would be added to the database the AI draws from.
And that's one of the big lawsuits right now.
Yeah, so we'll see how that shakes out. Yep. I mean, if it's a human, you don't get a say in it. If I look at all of an artist, if I want to do some work and I look at all of an artist's work, and then I use that to train myself and to do things like that, I mean, I don't have to have the artist's permission to do that.
Right.
So we'll see. That's interesting. Scott says the only reason to disclose is some people dislike the idea if you're using it and want to forbid or boycott you if you use it. But really, it's just a tool. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. Well, now wait a minute. Did you use? What are you using? So, especially when you say something as general as, "Hey, just be as specific as possible." Just be as specific as possible about exactly what. Because when you say be as specific as possible, that's no limit. They can always say you weren't specific enough. Like you could always run afoul of Kickstarter's AI policy if they wanted to shut it down. Because be as specific as possible is not any type of actual measurable level of yes, I disclosed enough.
Right, sure.
If they don't like it, then you were not specific enough. We said be as specific as possible. Yes, artists who embrace AI will use it to create things previously unimaginable. Coming soon to a company near you, a position called AI Ethics. James says this happens all the time: printing presses, automobiles, synthesizers, and now AI art. It's painful in the short term, and I have sympathy for that, but you can't stop it. It's inevitable. Can you imagine if we tried to stop it's interesting because we have the internet when all this is going on. We have the internet to talk about it. Like, we didn't have the internet to talk about phasing out film.
Right. Yep.
Amazon KDP just announced they're testing audiobooks for their new writers and using AI voices for it. I've been following the AI voice stuff too.
Interesting.
James Scott says, here's a good use for real art plus AI. Artist draws a complete original human drawn character, and then AI can draw some characters perfectly in many poses, clothing, lighting, and settings. Yeah, I know that. Like, that's how I would use it. Like, once I get my character, like, all right, this is the character. Now I need him sitting down, now standing up, now jumping. Like, yeah, go from there. All right. Let's see. Well, what else is there to talk about here? We talked about the future of your world. Well, actually, this is the perfect time to actually go back to one of the last topics that we ended on last time. We did talk about the state of science fiction and fantasy in the world. So how do you think that has changed over the past year? Are you still positive, negative?
There is a lot of science fiction in the RPG space right now, which is fantastic because it's more people playing stuff that isn't like hard fantasy. But there's always going to be the love of fantasy. I think it goes in waves of what people are playing, and I think it will continue to, like, one, I love that there's the 1985 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG on Kickstarter right now from Palladium, because that was one of my favorite games as a kid. And that is that's technically science fiction, right? Because it's got the science side of the weird mutations and all that stuff. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't. I was looking it up.
It launched yesterday. They had a $250,000 goal. I think they're probably 600,000-ish around there probably right now.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and others. No, I found it. Okay. Well,
Yep.
Okay, wait a minute. I found it. Okay. No, I didn't know this was going on. Okay. I did not know. So there we go. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Other Strangeness. The best-selling role-playing game is back in beautiful full color and new art by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles creators Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, and more. Whoa. Well, I'm sure that's a big draw.
Right?
Their story was really inspiring to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I loved that game as a kid, and I'm sure I will play it again because my RPG collection just keeps growing and growing.
I didn't know that there was an RPG of this earlier. So the best-selling hit from that was okay. So I would not have known anything about RPGs in 1985.
my favorite supplement was Mutants Down Under, and they had like dingoes and geckos and things like that from Australia.
All right. Well, I'm going to bring up the Molt back here, and
Yep.
I'm going to put this link here again. Let me zoom out so you can see right here. And I'm going to put the Molt link back in the comments. So everybody, this is what's going on right now. So if you are interested in Morkborg and what Brian is doing, the Molt is on Kickstarter right now.
And even if you don't have Morkborg, all of the core rules are going to be contained within the book. Everything that you need to play, aside from a set of dice and a piece of paper and a pencil, will be within the book. You're playing weird, strange species trying to destroy the outer shell of the world and destroy humanity. It's strange and weird and a little over the top.
Okay, that's a great point. It's compatible with Morkborg, but it's completely standalone. So this is a complete standalone book. All you need is this, and you'll be able to get going. All right, check that out. And then also over here for Brian, briancolin.com, this is going to give you everything that you need to find out everything. So if you heard something that we talked about right here, the link tree, and you didn't figure out where it was, this right here will get you to everywhere else and everything that Brian is doing. So please check that out as well. And then, hey, also, I'm coming up with the Trial of St. Gabriel. So please do check that as well. Hit the notify me on launch. Maybe I do have to add some some RPG elements to it. We'll see. But that is the short story. There's the dark story of the Christmas Massacre. All right. Anything else we need to say? You want to leave us with, Brian?
No. Play games. Have fun.
Play games. Yes. All right. So thank you so much for being here with us,
Thanks
Brian.
for having me.
I really enjoyed it. It was a great conversation. So everybody have a wonderful evening. I'll see everybody tomorrow morning for the morning grind on the Heath's Geekverse channel. And until then, like Brian's saying, hey, go play a game tonight.
Great.
See you later, everybody.